Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. I am the president of the Chilean NGO platform, ACCION, and coordinator of one of the main Latin American NGO platform, Mesa de Articulacion. I am speaking today on behalf of Beyond 2015, a global coalition with over 1,200 members in more than 130 countries. In the context of the post-2015 agenda, participation has multiple dimensions. It can be viewed as a target, but also as an essential means of implementation and an integral element of the follow-up and review mechanism that will be put in place. We believe that the implementation of the post-2015 agenda constituted of two different, albeit intimately linked phases. Firstly, we believe that it is crucial that the implementation and monitoring mechanism put in place at the global, regional, national, subnational, and local levels take into account the need for participation of people and their organizations, as it, for example, included in Target 16.7, ensure responsive, inclusive, participatory, and representative decision-making at all levels. In this context, building the SDGs into national and local development plans or strategies and creating cross-sectorial ministerial committees may help to gather political will and the financial resources for the actual implementation, may help to gather political will and the financial resources for the actual implementation and enhancing coherence and integration. The participatory quality of this mechanism is key to make the planning people-centered, transparent, and sensitive to environmental stewardship from the outset, and thus to bring about a truly transformative agenda. For a renewed equation between state, people, economy, and the planet, and for development to become a real enabler for social change and overhaul for our political institutions and the way they operate and interact with society as a whole is really needed, and it cannot be done without proper venues and mechanisms for greater participation. In the spirit of a human rights-based approach to development, people and their organizations have to be integrated into any governance system for it to be fully legitimate and democratic. The time has come for participation to be fully built into our institution in order to complement representative democracy, especially when representation is flawed for one reason or another. The second step for participatory implementation is the actual application of the plan and strategies in the field. This implies the formulation, selection, and implementation of specific and cross-cutting actions that will seek to fulfill the SDG built into national and local development plans. Even though every governance system requires trade-off between openness and institutional power, there are mechanisms to be found that can harness the potential of people's capacities in bringing about change, and the actual implementation of the post-2015 agenda is a significant opportunity in this path. The idea would be to move beyond traditional approaches based on isolated and specific best practices, which are valuable in their own right, but often fall short of addressing issues of coherency and coordination between different components of the agenda or between different actors. A holistic conception of the role of people and their organization as actors of development can be built into every level of the implementation structures put in place, constituting a system that allows for interaction and coordination between different levels of government, non-government actors, and people as a whole. At the local, subnational, and national level, structures for participatory implementation should be established. This should be done with a view to provide enough space for governments and civil society to engage in dialogue and build consensus around a set of guidelines for the formulation and selection of the best projects and programs that can be put in place for the fulfillment of the different SDGs and targets. Once built into development plans, these spaces should be horizontal, and ideally the decision made should be binding. These spaces could also provide a venue for monitoring and accountability to take place once the projects start being translated into action. At the regional and local levels, participatory budgets can be put in place in order to legitimize the resource allocation process for the component of the agenda that fall into the competency of regional and local authorities. These processes should take into account the principle of integration and should be applied to action that properly address the links between environmental stewardship and human development. People and their organization should be included in the actual implementation of the different cross-cutting programs that are formulated for the fulfillment of the agenda. Also, member states must enhance international support for implementing effective and targeted capacity building in developing countries to support multi-stakeholder initiatives that inform national plans to implement the SDGs. At global level, we need participatory coordination mechanisms that allow for the diversity of civil society voices to be recognized, visible, and heard, and the space created by the high-level political forum is a good starting point. In conclusion, for the post-2015 agenda to become more than an aspirational paper agreement and to make a real difference to people's lives, governments must start putting in place strategies, institutional plans, and mechanisms at the national and local level to ensure participatory implementation. Governance structure for decision-making and implementation should account for the integral and transformative nature of the SDGs, promoting coherence, inclusiveness, and participation. While governments have the primary responsibility for the implementation of the post-2015 agenda, they must recognize that this agenda goes far beyond government. It is shared agenda. It is our agenda. As such, people and their their organization must be involved in the implementation process right from the start. Thank you very much.
I think Mr. Santibanez